Welcome back, everybody. This is Cover 1. I'm your host, James Bellini. We are in week 5 of the Texas high school football season. Before we get any further, though, got to introduce my co-host, Ryan Chadwick.
How's it going? Can't believe it's already week 5.
Yeah, neither can I. And Paul Harris.
Hey, good to be here.
All right. Before we go any further, though, we got to thank our title sponsor, Whataburger.
Whataburger's Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back.
Chicken strips. Chicken strips. Chicken strips.
Ranch.
Ranch!
Buffalo. Ranch. Monterey Jack cheese.
The Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich. A beautiful masterpiece.
All right, let's get into it. Central got a big win last week over Belton. They play Waco. Chadwick, Paul, you want to talk about it? Start with Chadwick.
So it's another home game for the Bobcats, coming off a impressive victory over Belton. It was clear pretty early that Central was the better football team. They took care of the ball. They've been playing better every single week that has progressed this season, and I don't see that changing against Waco. Waco is a team that has historically struggled over the past 5 or 6 seasons. So Squeak English should have another big game. I like seeing that wide receiving core step up because there still is no Colton Hill out there. On the defensive side, they've really played lockdown over the last couple of weeks, held Abilene Cooper, a real dangerous offense, and, of course, held Belton under, what was it, Paul, 20 points? I think they scored 10, right?
Belton scored 8.
8? Okay, yeah, under 10 points, even better. But, yeah, the Bobcats are looking good, and do you have anything to add to that, Paul?
Yeah, I would just say that, I felt like the offense could have done more last week. They just didn't need to with the way the defense was playing. The offense was able to just keep it on the ground. I mean, they had a 20-play, 90-yard drive in the third quarter, just marching down the field like a conquering army. And so, I felt like they could have done anything they wanted to do offensively, but the game plan was, hey, why take chances with the way the defense is playing?
Man, I like it, conquering army. I like it. So how's Waco look? Is Waco any good, Chadwick?
Waco's 500 on the year. They're 2-2. They've played area schools for them, so it's not like we've gotten a real good scouting report on some of the people that they've beaten. That's why I said historically in the last couple of years they haven't won more than 2 games. Paul and I were talking about this earlier. It should be a decent matchup, but again, I think because it's at home, it's a decent drive for Waco. I think the Bobcats are just going to keep rolling. They've played better each and every week. Like I said, and they hit 500 for the first time in 2 years, and I think they go to 3-2 this week.
I will say though, in the past, Central has kind of let us down sometimes. Some weeks, there have been weeks where they've looked good and we felt good about them going into the matchup, and then I'm not alluding to my pick or anything, but anyway, we got to hear from Angelo Bolt real quick. Let's go ahead and run that right now, Chadwick.
Since 1994, Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply has served the Concho Valley for 30 years and counting. Angelo Bolt is the go-to place for fasteners, power tools, air compressors, safety equipment, and everything in between. Chances are Angelo Bolt will always have what you need when you need it, and that odd chance that they don't have exactly what you're looking for, they'll find it fast. No request is too big or too small for Angelo Bolt. Located at 808 Warehouse Road, where customer service is their top priority. Thank you, Angelo Bolt, for bringing us all of our coverage in the Concho Valley.
Damn, Chadwick, you sounded good reading that. You should come in the studio and let me go out in the field sometimes. All right, moving on, we got Lakeview and Levelland. Lakeview's making the trip up to Lubbock for this Levelland game. Let's talk about it. We got Chris Avizo out there for Lakeview, right, Paul?
That's right. I'd say he struggled for the first time. He had really 2 great starts. Then last week, Lubbock High gave him a lot of trouble. Lakeview had a touchdown early, and I don't think they found the scoreboard again until the 4th quarter. So his first kind of adversity he's faced, and we'll see how he responds this week.
But he's a sophomore, though, right? He's still a sophomore. He's bound to have these, we had a couple games where sophomore quarterbacks that kind of struggled this past week. Chad, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, it just kind of seemed like whatever Lubbock High schemed on defense worked, right? And they had to make one adjustment after that first touchdown drive, and they just kind of owned the game after that. Of course, Avizo did have a couple of picks, and once Lakeview starts turning the ball over, that's when things kind of get away from them. But this is still a high-octane offense going up into this matchup with Levelland, which is another high-powered offense through the air. So Levelland has played close with some really talented guys this year, including Idalou, who's undefeated. But it should be a good one. I think that the road trip doesn't help Lakeview, but like I don't think that the Chiefs are going to struggle like they did last week. I think their offense will score, so it just kind of depends to see what defense decides to step up.
Yeah, Lyle Leong finally using that Texas Tech Red Raider spread out offense, huh? All right, Chad, we'll go ahead and talk about Fort Stockton and Lubbock Liberty. This is Lubbock Liberty's first home game.
Yeah, so Lubbock Cooper Liberty is, of course, playing their inaugural varsity football season. This is a new team that couldn't even field a varsity football team last year. They had only a JV because the oldest person on that team was a sophomore. This year, they're all juniors and sophomores, still not a single senior on that team, but hit the road because their stadium was not ready yet for the first 4 weeks of the season. They play their home debut this weekend, and I think that with the high energy and everything, whenever Fort Stockton comes to town, this football team gets their first win of 2024. They're 0-4 on the year, but they've played in two really close games, and they've played pretty well in the other two. They've also played some really talented guys in the 3 and 4A spectrum. But I do think that Fort Stockton will They've already proven that they can play. Like, they were really talented last year. They've beaten Lakeview this year, and I know that that's an opponent that we see a lot. But Lubbock Cooper Liberty is going to have to take care of the ball. They struggle with turnovers in the past, and so we'll just kind of see what happens. But home debut for the Patriots, and it's going to be a big game.
All right, next up we got Miles and Ozona. This is Ozona's homecoming game. It's going to be a really good matchup. Got Hudson Fowler out there, quarterback for Ozona. You got Liam Yancey out there, quarterback for Miles. They both put up good numbers this year. You got two good running games. You got he was built for Tufts Player of the Week for Week 1. He put up over 300 yards in Week 1. Christian Villarreal from Ozona. Tevin Mead from Miles has put up really, really good numbers this year. I think he's got like 600 yards on the season so far. And two receivers who have been, lights out. Cooper Ellison has played extremely well. He's got like 500 yards. And Michael Daniels for Ozona. So this could be a really, really good matchup. Defensively, they're both really, really good as well. And this is going to be a tough game for Ozona's homecoming. You usually don't schedule games that are, tough games for homecoming. But,
schedule an undefeated team.
And Miles has played lights out in some of these games, too. They struggled last week against El Dorado, but you're going to have struggles from week to week. But Ozona has looked really good. Miles has looked really good. And they have very good players on both sides of the ball.
I think it's important to note, too, do not look at Max Preps for the location of this game. This is Ozona's homecoming at Ozona. Max Prep says it's at Miles, so do not listen to Max Preps on this one.
Right, they had to move the first game. They played Sonora in Sonora. I think it's supposed to be a home game, but the Johnson City game next week for Sonora played into it somehow, and it would have given, I don't know why they moved it. So I think the schedule might be kind of out of order on some of these teams. But now let's talk about Wall and Sweetwater. Wall survived last week against Monahans on like a fourth quarter end second play that got them got Wall the ball back, and they were able to kneel the game out. Paul, you want to talk about that one real quick?
Yeah. Just another big win for Wall. I mean, every single game has just been a gauntlet for them. Monaghan's a 4A school. Are they 4A? Is that right? I think they're 4A. They're bigger than Wall. And, Wall jumps out to a big lead. Monaghan's come storming back, but Wall's defense, again, if you can count on anything, it's Wall's, defense to come up big when they need to, and then they made a big play to win it there at the end.
They have a standard out there at Wall for them defenders, and they take a lot of pride in it. And Lane Stansberry's really stepped up. Brylan White, of course, Ethan Mickelwood's Garrett Guy. There's too many to name, and Reed Robertson's really stepped up at receiver for him. We talked about, Paul and I, we talked about Landon York really new offensive scheme, new guy in the offense, and he's kind of taken it and ran with it and played really, really well. And I brought that up with Coach Slaughter too, as you saw in the interview we did with him, this week, on Wednesday. So should be a really good one. Stopping Corder Moore is gonna, the running back there for Sweetwater is gonna be paramount for Wall's success. And getting to Caden Ortiz, I think he's a sophomore this year. He's a freshman last year. They had a really young team there in Sweetwater. So this should be a really good matchup between two really good teams. Moving on. For any banking needs, go to Texas Bank. Proven local and strong is how customers refer to Texas Bank, one of the most successful banks in the Lone Star State. Texas Bank is a full-service bank with over $2 billion in assets, and they operate in 16 locations from El Paso to Dallas-Fort Worth, including 3 right here in San Angelo, located at 2201 Sherwood Way, 1815 North Chadbourne, and 4206 College Hills. Texas Bank staff are your friends, family, and neighbors. We got Player of the Week now, everybody. Out from Reagan County. Chadwick, you want to talk about it?
Okay, so Reagan County had a big win over McCamey last week. We had Jarrett Brown, another well-known name out there.
Casey Brown's brother.
Yeah, Casey Brown's brother.
Coach Brown's son.
Thanks, James. Do you want to take it?
No, I got it. No, you got it. You're good.
All right. But anyway, he stepped up last week. He went 11 for 17, 316 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. He also added 15 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. On defense, he also was all over the place. He had 7 tackles. Now, that is a area that usually Casey Brown's the one who's under center, but Jarrett Brown stepped up this week in a big way and put up impressive numbers. And James, we had another guy from Reagan County too that we're going to talk about. So let's go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah, his favorite target, Nick Franklin. He had 5 catches for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns over McCamey. And he played really well in that first game. I watched him when they played Olney. And then we have a few other guys. Aaron Segura went 19 of 30 for 322 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Sophomore quarterback down in Sonora.
Yep, it seems like he is the guy at Sonora now too.
That's what it seems like.
Good for him. Anytime you put up 322 passes, anytime you put up over 250 yards at a smaller school, that's how you know that you can really sling the ball around. But excellent game from Sonora. James, we don't usually cover big country schools, but we did have a performance that we just cannot leave out. So let's talk about Andrew Reedy.
Andrew Reedy, yeah, he had 18. He running back receiver. He had 18 catches for 202 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 carries, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he put up 254 yards and 5 touchdowns altogether over Peaster. I think they won 50-32 over the Greyhounds. Played extremely well. He's just a sophomore too, so a lot of super sophomores out there this year. And I know, Chadwick, you want to talk about the friendship receiver, your Texas Tech commit, Leighton Stone.
Well, it was an incredible matchup last week anyway between Lubbock Cooper and Friendship, because Lubbock Cooper is ranked in the top 10 in 5A Division II. Crosstown rivals. It was a big game. The stadium was sold out, and at Lubbock Cooper, that is. And so it was technically an away game for Friendship, and Friendship just showed out and blew them out in the first half. I think at one point they were up 35-7, but Lubbock Cooper came roaring back in this one. But what kept Friendship on top was Leighton Stone, Texas Tech commit wide receiver out there. He had 7 catches for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns in that win over Lubbock Cooper.
All right. And our defensive player from my alma mater, Cristobal, Tristan Alvarado, had 3 interceptions in a win over Sterling City. I think they won. I think they shut out Sterling City 29-0. Great performance by Tristan Alvarado. They have a pretty talented team down there in Cristobal. It's got kind of put it together, and I think they'll be pretty successful. But now we do have to pay some bills, so we will be right back.
It's our giant tag sale.
Giant tags plus hell means one thing: giant tag hail sale prices. Right now, during our giant tag hail sale, you can get a brand new 2024 Ford Explorer XLT for just $32,977. But hurry, these are selling fast. Our giant tag hail sale at Jim Bass Cars and Trucks, Houston Hart at Arden Road, or shop 24/7 at bassbunch.com.
All right, this is Ryan Chadwick's favorite segment of the show. We talk about college football, and he's going to talk about Texas Tech for the next 20 minutes.
I love high school football, James. Like, I don't want you to get it twisted, but I am a Red Raider, and the Red Raiders have certainly turned their season around, defeated Arizona State to move to 1-0 in Big 12 play last week when everyone was pretty much discounting Texas Tech, saying that their season was over after that loss to Washington State. Come to find out, that's not true. The defense stepped up again for the second week in a row, held Arizona State to basically 16 points up until there was like less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, put up 33 of their own. One of the biggest positives for Texas Tech was that running game continues to churn. Taj Brooks had he had 17 carries for 117 yards. It's his third game this year. Every game he's played in so far, he's rushed for over 100 yards. He moved up to fourth place all time on the Texas Tech rushing leaders list, past the great DeAndre Washington. He's a Texas Tech legend as well. But this week they head to a matchup against Cincinnati. It's another home game. It's the last game of their 3-game home stretch before they hit the road to Arizona the week after. But that kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. and it's a blackout. So if you plan on attending the game, wear black. Texas Tech will need it. Cincinnati beat Houston, completely shut them out last week. I think it was 37-0. Might have been 34-0, but still, it was not a good look for the Cougars. But the Bearcats got a big win. They're also 1-0 Big 12. Now, the key to this game for Texas Tech is they can't turn the ball over, and they got to play good defense. Baron Morton wasn't as accurate as he needed to be, and we had to deal with some drops last week. But if you clean those up, you should get a primetime win at home against Cincinnati to move to 2-0 in the Big 12.
All right, and we got Angelo State. They have an open week. Paul, you want to take this one?
Yeah, it comes at a good time because they got UT Permian Basin, next week, which will be a huge game. So it's if you could schedule the bye week, this would be where you'd want to do it. The Rams are coming off a win over Western New Mexico, 21-0, just shut out. Easy does it. The offense could have put it away a little sooner, but the defense really showed why they were a top 10 defense last year, and so they're 2-0 in conference play now, and got a couple weeks to prepare for UTPB.
Well, it seems like since the 2 losses on the road to open the season, the Rams have really turned it around, Paul. Like, what do you think this is? Has the defense finally woken up? Is the offense finally clicking? Like, what is it?
Well, they haven't been alternating quarterbacks. They've just settled on Fuller. Maybe that's helped. I've never been a big believer in the 2-quarterback system personally, but he's played really well. The defense has been outstanding. Andrew Pitts, 3 straight games with an interception, and they were supposed to beat the 2 New Mexico schools. They've got some big games coming up down the stretch, and so I think UTPB will really that's a huge game. If they really have chances to go to the playoffs and win the conference, they've got to do it on the road in that matchup.
All right, got to pay a little more bills here. The ArcLight Bar and Grill has the largest video wall in San Angelo and is the #1 sports bar, the finest new sports bar in town. Saturday college game day was never this good. The ArcLight Bar and Grill is located inside the Clarion Hotel at 441 Rio Concho Drive. Go check out the Clarion for updates on your favorite teams and your fantasy team. The ArcLight Bar and Grill, located at 441 Rio Concho Drive. Sorry about that.
James.
I know. I'm sorry. I read it every day, and I should have it down by now. I'm sorry.
You're making the Cougars look bad, man.
Let's get into picks. Public education, bro. What can I say? All right, let's get into picks. Central and Waco. Chadwick, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so in this one, we have a pretty lopsided matchup. I think that, James, you're the only one who picked Waco.
I'm the lone wolf here. I'll take it.
Yeah, but everyone else went Central here, man, and it's kind of sad to see that you're picking against the Bobcats. Is that why you were throwing shade at them earlier in the segment?
Possibly. Hey, no, I'm serious, though. There have been times we've been let down. I mean, come on, man. You're a Central alumni over there. Haven't there been times where Central has just let you down? Odessa Permian, maybe? Chadwick?
I'm a fervent Bobcat supporter, and I'm always going to believe him no matter what. But, yes, me, Paul, Nick, Lucas, Ernesto, and Scott all went Central. James went Waco. Next up, we got Lakeview at Levelland. James, go.
All right. Again, high-powered offense, big passing offense from Levelland. The Chiefs travel to Levelland on Friday. They play the Lobos, who are pretty electric through the air. Chadwick went Levelland. I went Levelland. Paul went Levelland. Nick went Lakeview. Lucas went Lakeview. Ernesto went Levelland. and Scott went Lakeview. Chadwick, Fort Stockton, and Lubbock Cooper Liberty.
Now, again, this is an 0-4 team playing against a pretty talented Fort Stockton team, but Lubbock Cooper or Liberty has played all 4 of their losses really close. Across the board, it seems like everyone's going Lubbock Cooper Liberty except for James and Nick. They're both picking Fort Stockton. Fort Stockton's a great program. It's not a bad pick.
All right, moving on. Ozona and Miles. Ozona's homecoming, two of the better quarterbacks in the Concho Valley. We kind of split. Chadwick, Paul, and Lucas went Ozona. Nick, Ernesto, Scott, and myself went Miles, I believe, and Liam Yancey. All right, Chadwick, what about Wall Sweetwater?
Finally, the Hawks versus the Mustangs at the Mustang Bowl. Again, this one's split, but like it is favored in Wall's direction. James and Nick went Sweetwater. They're the antagonists this week, I swear, Paul. They're picking against all our Concho Valley
Gotta make it
schools.
interesting.
Yeah, but myself, Paul, Lucas, Ernesto, and Scott, we all went with the Hawks.
It's not fun if everybody picks the same way, man.
Well,
we all agree on everything.
That leads us
Congratulations.
into our actual records. If we want to go into that right now,
If I actually tried,
I
I'd be
went
undefeated.
4-1 last week after going 5-0 the week before that. I'm sitting at
Congratulations,
15-5, commanding lead. Now have a 4-game lead or 3-game lead. I'm sorry, Nick and Paul over the second place pickers over here, which is Paul at 12-8 and Nick at 12-8. James, you fell to 500, man. You're 10-10. Ernesto, poor Ernesto, he's at 6-14, while Lucas and Scott are both at 11-9.
All right, moving on. Final thoughts. Paul, Reagan County, and Ira Ann. Go.
Yeah, this should be an awesome game. Both teams are 4-0. Coming into the year, I think both had some high hopes. Ira Ann was coming off their first ever 7-on-7 state tournament appearance. Reagan County had Cason Brown with he's had an offer from Cornell. We know what a great quarterback he is. Whether Cason or Jarrett Brown plays, either way, we know what Reagan County can do. But both these defenses are allowing less than 10 points per game, so it's really an interesting matchup, But I guess we'll find out a lot about both teams on Friday.
Yeah, another thing, they have a Caden Cravens down there in Iran for the Braves, who got 5.5 sacks already this season. I'm talking about Mason and Cristobal. Cristobal finally got a win. Both these teams bring back quarterback, running back, offensive lines. To win this one, Cristobal's really going to have to attack that ball and try to get Tristan Alvarado to have 3 interceptions again. They're really going to have to go after the ball and try to strip the ball. Mason loves to run the ball. And Chadwick, Lubbock, Estacado, and Canyon Randall. So,
yeah, on Thursday, I drove up to Canyon to watch Estacado play Randall. Won't spoil the ending for that one. You're going to have to watch the post-game show for that one. But Estacado is a team that could easily be undefeated if they would just get out of their own ways. Penalties and turnovers have completely killed the Matadors so far this season. And again, this is the same team that beat Jim Ned week 1. Since then, they're on a 3-game losing streak. You'll have to see how it ended up. But my final thought on it is take care of the ball. Stop talking trash to the other team once you make a stop or something. You know what I mean? Because a bunch of these are personal fouls that happen after the play, false starts that happen pre-play. So it's one of those things where if Estacado wants to compete in their district, they're going to have to basically eliminate the penalties, because I think last week they had over 100 yards of penalties, and it really kept them from beating Sweetwater.
All right. And there's another really good 6-man matchup. Water Valley and Rochelle out in Rochelle should be a very good matchup out there. But I believe that's everything for the pregame show. For Ryan Chadwick and Paul Harris, I'm James Bellini, and we'll